Yes, good morning. It's 7 o'clock on November 18th and you're watching Ireland AM. I've half a day's work done already, would you believe?
I would indeed, Now, coming up, we take a look at the stories making this morning's papers, including more bad news for mortgage holders and toll road users with price hikes on the way.
Yes, it's National Pyjama Day. Nobody told us, obviously. You know, we're all dressed up.
I'm in my top.
What's that, your pyjamas?
Yeah.
Well, it's a very nice pyjama.
Thanks very much.
I'm not. Anyway, we'll hear how Early Childhood Ireland are raising money to help support children with autism from as early an age as possible.
In sport, the Republic of Ireland were beaten 2-1 by Norway at the Aviva Stadium last night. We'll have reaction and look forward to the rugby team's big clash with Australia. And he was pals with both the Queen and Nelson Mandela. British politician and anti-apartheid fighter Peter Hain will join us after 8. And she's the author behind bestsellers like My Sister's Keeper and Small Great Things. Jodi Picoult and her co-author Jennifer Finney Boylan tell us how a dream posted on Twitter led to their latest novel. Now it's over to Katja to see what she's up to this morning. Kat.
Good morning. Well, also coming up today in fashion, we'll show you how to wear velvet this winter. We're making lasagna sticks in the kitchen and we'll get you up to date with the latest gross goings on in the I'm A Celeb jungle. But for now, Derek has our weather for the weekend this morning. Hope it's not too cold out there for you, Derek.
A pretty chilly one, Kathy, right across the weekend. It's that mixture of sunshine and showers to take us through Saturday and into Sunday. Out there this morning, we have rain into the northeast, to the southwest as well. A little bit heavier later on across the day. But you need to get the winter woolies on. Martin and Elaine, I know it's National Pyjama Day, but look, I got you a pair of these. Nice little woolly socks. All the way for the Iron
Sorry,
Islands.
there's too many jokes already going through my head. Sorry.
Is there sheep on them?
I can see you in these, Martin.
There's sheepy woolly socks. Thanks a million, Derek. Appreciate that.
It does look cold, doesn't it? Anyway, for now, let's go over to the Virgin Media News Hub, and here's Anne O'Donnell.
Thanks, Martin. Good morning. Well, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is due to address third-level students from around Ireland today, gathered in DCU. And it comes after Russian missiles have been targeting critical infrastructure in Ukraine in recent days.
Snow falls in Kyiv. Residents aware it's set to be a harsh winter. Russia has launched a fresh wave of strikes on Ukraine in recent days. The country's energy infrastructure is taking a battering again, with power shortages across the country. One attack on the city of Dnipro yesterday has left at least 14 people injured. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is refuting claims that a missile strike that hit Poland on Tuesday, killing 2 people, was from Ukraine. NATO's chief and the President of Poland both saying there are no indications that the missile was a deliberate attack. They say that Ukraine likely launched the Soviet-era missile as it was fending off a Russian air assault. Yesterday evening, US President Joe Biden returned to the White House from the G20 summit and was asked about Ukraine's position.
The reaction of President Zelensky saying that the missiles that landed in Poland were not Ukrainian? That's not the evidence.
President Zelensky says he does not believe the missile was Ukrainian and wants more evidence. Marie Mulcahy, Virgin Media News.
Well, back home, one man has been arrested in Dublin after drugs worth over €2.3 million were seized. Around 118 kilograms of herbal cannabis were found and were made as part of an intelligence-led operation in North Dublin. And a 56-year-old man has been arrested and is being detained in Coolock Garda Station for questioning. Today is the final day of the COP27 summit in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. Much of the focus at this year's summit has been on negotiating agreement between developed and developing nations over so-called loss and damage compensation. Speaking last night, the COP27 president says progress on many issues is still lacking.
While some of the discussions were constructive and positive, others did not reflect the expected recognition of the need to move collectively to address the gravity and urgency of the climate crisis. The mitigation work programme is yet to reach the desired outcome. Adaptation is still held back by procedural matters. Ambitious outcomes on finance have not yet materialized. And on loss and damage, parties are shying away from taking the difficult political decisions.
A number of Twitter staff have been informed that their office buildings have been temporarily closed until Monday. That's according to reports circulating this morning. A memo was sent to staff with the update with no reason given for the closure. It comes amid speculation demands from the new boss, Elon Musk, has sparked a wave of resignations at the company. In the US, a state of emergency has been declared in parts of New York ahead of potentially deadly falls of snow. The National Weather Service is forecasting up to 1.2 metres of snow across 11 counties in the west of the state. The snowstorm has led to a ban on commercial truck traffic on some roads and is expected to last until Sunday.
What we're talking about is a major storm. This is considered an extreme event, an extreme weather event. That means it's dangerous. It also means it's life-threatening. And that's the seriousness with which we're taking this, that this is a life-threatening storm. We may need life-saving actions, rescues, and we're ready with the equipment to handle that as well.
Elsewhere, the US Vice President Kamala Harris and other Pacific region leaders held an emergency meeting at the APEC summit in Bangkok in Thailand today after North Korea fired an intercontinental ballistic missile that landed inside Japan's exclusive economic zone in waters. Well, the test was North Korea's second major weapons test this month that showed a potential ability to launch nuclear strikes that could reach the US mainland.
For car insurance, van insurance or home insurance, call the Quote Devil. Unless, of course, you've got money to burn.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. A very good morning to you at home, or if you're indeed watching us online on the player. We're coming to you live here from the heart of Clondalkin Village in West Dublin this morning. Let's take an opening look at weather together now with Ronan McIntyre on cameras. Getting into the 18th of November, we're still under the cover of darkness at the moment. Sunrise on the way at 7:55 GMT, and it looks like a mainly dry and settled, but quite a chilly one out there now this Friday morning. Now, we are seeing showers up around the Inishowen Peninsula, through North Derry, Tyrone, onto the east coast of Antrim, and in fact parts of Cork and Kerry not escaping either. Mill Street there in Cork in the firing line, also Ballydesmond in the Kingdom getting hit by a couple of hit and miss passing showers. Now, right across this afternoon, in fact not a bad one in the store, we're going to see some nice November sunshine on the cards. Rain into the northeastern corner of the country and towards the back end, latter half of the day, really late evening, we're going to see rain develop into parts of Munster, leaning on the heavy side too for a time. So with showers to top and tail the island, top values today of around 5 to 10 degrees. Finally then tonight, any rain clearing out. It will be mainly dry and settled, very similar then to last time. We're going to see some patchy mist, a taster of frost as well to take us through into tomorrow morning, and it will be a very cold, a very chilly night in store too, with values back to -1 to +5 degrees. So that's how it's shaping up here in Clondalkin, West Dublin at the moment. A cold one out there this morning, so wrap up and we'll catch you back live at 7:35.
For first-time drivers, young drivers, returning drivers, if you've had an open claim or have had too many penalty points.
Now let's check on your morning paper, starting with the Irish Times. Mortgage rates rise 12% ahead of ECB hikes. The paper reports that monthly mortgage repayments for Irish borrowers rose by 12% in the 2 years to the end of June, even before the European Central Bank started to hike official rates, according to new figures from Banking and Payments Federation Ireland.
Now, PTSB is raising its interest rates on mortgages. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. The paper reporting the permanent TSB is the latest bank to hike its fixed-term interest rates for new mortgage customers.
The Examiner leads with hospital bosses to be grilled on poor services. The paper details how underperformance consultants and managers in some of the country's worst hospitals have been targeted in recent weeks and asked to account for their failures.
Onto the tabloids, and toll rises gouging us is the front page of the Irish Daily Mail. The paper reporting how motorists will face toll charge hikes on major roads across the country from the start of next year in a move branded highway robbery.
The Mirror goes with tale of the 10-hour tapes. The paper details that judges at the Regency trial will hear 10 hours of conversations between Jerry the Monk Hutch and Jonathan Dowdall.
The Sun leads with that same story. Its headline, Hutch tapes to be played in court.
The Star goes with My Life is Hell. The paper reporting how a dad of 13 whose house was shot up to 6 times has told how he's been left crippled by a horror hit and run.
And the Herald leads with Jailhouse Sock. The paper reports that an investigation is underway after a jail Kinahan gunman was allegedly beaten with a sock filled with batteries and had a kettle of boiling water thrown over him.
Now stay with us. We'll be talking you through this morning's front pages after this quick break. You're very welcome back. Now it's time for a look at the big stories making this morning's papers. And sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but the cost of living crisis shows absolutely no sign of slowing down just yet. Now with me is a nude editor. You're not nude at all. You're fully dressed. Silly
Nobody told
me.
me about this.
A news editor with the Bauer Media, Laura Donnelly. I think I need a little bit more coffee this morning because, do you know what? It's the shock of all this bad news, because I don't know whether to laugh or cry at this stage, because we're lurching from one financial mess up to the next. And mortgage holders are in for a bit of a bump this morning, particularly if you have moved to PTSB.
Absolutely. As if a mortgage on a house isn't expensive enough, mortgage prices are going up. So Permanent TSB is to hike its fixed term interest rate, and they're making the announcement this morning, but it's in most of the papers. So it's an increase in cost for people who are getting a mortgage with the bank now. So it's going to go up by 0.45%. So what does that mean for your monthly payment? It's going to be about €60 a month if you have a mortgage on an average house of around €250,000. So it's going up by 60 if you're on the fixed term. No change to the variable at the moment, according to PTSB.
At the moment, but watch this space. And of course, we've a lot of interest rate hikes to come as well. Through the ECB, they've been flagging that for quite a while. But in the Irish Times, you see this morning that interest rates rose by 12% in the last 2 years in Ireland across the board, and that was ever before the ECB started fiddling with their rates.
Exactly. So this is a separate story. So the monthly payments went up by an average of 12% in the year to June, and that's before the ECB brought up their rates. So that means the average person was paying an extra €110 on a mortgage of just over €1,000, while they're €150 if you had a €1,360 average mortgage. And the reason for this was that some of the lenders who were described as non-banks, so they're named here in this report as Avant Money, they put up their rates in advance of the ECB doing the rate increase. So this has spiralled, and it's led to the average increase over the last 2 years being 12%.
I mean, when you're looking at the numbers there, it's absolutely frightening. Whatever about dealing with the gas and the petrol, diesel hikes, home heating, the whole shebang. This on top of it all, I mean, it's people are just pinching their collar at the moment.
Absolutely, and like there's very little you can do if you have a mortgage. I mean, you're stuck with the mortgage for the term of it. Like you might sort of look at your shopping and rein in your spending elsewhere, but your mortgage has to be paid regardless. Like I suppose the only positive for people who are nervous this morning is that if you are with Permanent TSB, going back to that story, and you have been approved, you've 90 days to draw down, so you're not going to face the rate until February. But people who are in the home buying process will know that nothing moves fast, because there's that period of waiting where you're waiting for someone to ring you to tell you things have been signed or approved or you're getting keys, and it's just such a long process. So hopefully by February, people who have been approved will get in the door.
And prices are, in some instances, are Celtic Tiger highs as well. I mean, it's not like it's cheap to even get it at the first place. And of course, we have some of the highest rates in Europe in existence as it is, so it's not looking good there at all. And you know, if that wasn't bad enough, and if you decided, sure, I can't live in an urban centre, I'm going to travel out a bit, and I'll get the car in, but the tolls, tolls might be okay thus far. Bit of petrol money, petrol's gone up. Now the tolls are going up, and there's war over it, because I don't think the government were given advance notice of the toll hike.
Yeah, that's right. That was a really interesting aspect of this story. So it came about yesterday that Transport Infrastructure Ireland is putting up the cost of tolls on, I think, 10 of the country's roads. The Port Tunnel is the safe bet. It's not apparently going up. So they can put it up by 60 cent, but they're putting most up by about 20 cent. So for a toll user on the M50, for example, at the moment, if you don't have one of those tags, you're paying €2.70. That's going to go up to €2.90. And you mentioned Leo Varadkar. He said yesterday that this came as a surprise to him, and the government was taken aback by the increase. So reading between the lines there, they're not happy with this rate increase. And like for people, as you mentioned, who are already facing the increased fuel costs, now they're facing an even more expensive journey. And some people have no choice but to use these toll roads to get to work. And people are saying it's now costing me more money just to go to work, €50 a week in some cases.
Yeah, and if you look at everyone's been called to go back to the office now as well, so it's not like that working from home is an option for many people now. I mean, it's just getting grimmer and grimmer by the second.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, people are moving out of the city to save money, but then they'll have to come into Dublin to work. And I heard a report yesterday of a teacher saying, I have to drive from Meath to Dublin. I have no choice but to go on this toll road, and it's costing me €200 a month just to go to work.
Oh my God.
So, I mean, that's hard going if you're just, like, it's just filling the car firstly and then getting it to work is costing you more.
Now, I suppose the news that's been everywhere over the last while is the Russian ambassador Filatov was called to the department to answer questions over the fact that 52 Irish politicians and senior civil servants have been basically sanctioned by the Russian government because of the war in Ukraine and Ireland's actions. Fill us in on that.
Yeah, so Yuri Filatov has been described, or has been told by Micheál Martin that this list is totally unacceptable. So as you mentioned, the list came out of 52 people who are now banned from entering Russia. And at first we only got a couple of names. So we heard that there was Taoiseach Leo Varadkar, Taoiseach Micheál Martin, Minister for Foreign Affairs Simon Coveney and Justice Minister Helen McEntee. But at that point then, Micheál Martin questioned, did this list exist at all, because they hadn't seen the remainder of the list. But the Department of Foreign Affairs said it has been sent the list and it'll be contacting the people on the list individually to tell them that they're on it, but won't be releasing the list altogether.
Now, see, everybody was like, I want to know who else is on the list. But now it seems to be almost a badge of honour around Leinster House. Am I on the list? Am I important enough to be on the list? And they all kind of want to be on it, which is a bit mad.
Yeah.
If you look at Miriam Lord yesterday in the Times when she was writing about it, they're all like, yay, is it me? Which is a bonkers.
Yeah, there was clips of them yesterday saying this would be a badge of honour, and the Irish Times, as you mentioned, has a couple of the names. So the Irish Times understands Minister for European Affairs Thomas Byrne is on the list, Fianna Fáil TD Sean Haughey and Senator Timmy Dooley. The Irish Times has heard that they are on the list, and I've also seen some tweeting to say they're on the list, and as you mentioned, they see it as a badge of honour and they're happy to announce this.
I mean, it's a bit Irish, really, isn't it, to be doing that? I mean, of all the tragedy that's been going on, they're like jostling for position to see if they merit being on this, which is not good to be sanctioned anyway, in fairness. But I suppose we've news now that the Irish Army are helping demine, train Ukrainian soldiers to demine areas, and I suppose we were never going to be let off lightly when it comes to this. So it was only a matter of time, I suppose, before there was some sort of pullback.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's not good news, and it's kind of just a bit of people having a bit of crack or something to announce that they're on this list when it's overall it's a really bad situation.
Yeah, lads, cop on it. Don't be bragging about something like this. Have a bit of respect, really. And although this story now that I've seen today, I think it kind of takes the biscuit. We're looking at Irish fans apparently secretly backing England. Yes. A new survey published in The Sun today by a gambling company said that 31% of all respondents, 31% lads, said they'd support England, but only in secret.
Yes, I thought this was really interesting. So, as you mentioned, a shock survey. Irish football fans are going to root for England in the World Cup when it starts on Sunday. They say the old enemy will be the most supported country here when it kicks off on Sunday. 12% of people saying they'll support England. 6% are going to support Wales, and Spain and Portugal get 5% of the vote. 31% of those people, though, said they'll be doing it in secret. Yeah.
One thing I've never really understood, I mean, most of the fellas I know in Ireland, they support Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, you name it, QPR, Bolton, there's some
any old
English team. When it actually comes to supporting the English team per se, no, they're the enemy, never anybody but England. But now this actually flips it a little bit. I'm actually surprised that even in private, 31% said they'd support England, because it is one of the great rivalries.
Absolutely. I was surprised too, but maybe all those people you mentioned that are supporting Man United are secretly supporting England when they're playing.
The only person I know who openly supports the English team is Ray Shah, formerly of Big Brother, and of course a friend to many shows here in Virgin as well. He's always been on about it, and he gets vilified for quite a lot. Of course, he was brought up there, but it's mad. So 3 lines, 12%, Wales 6 and Portugal both on 5. Who would you be going for if you were?
Well, I won't say it on here in case I get in trouble.
Yeah, no. But a lot of people are even saying they're not even going to watch the World Cup, which is mad.
Honest, so I forgot it was on.
Yeah. Do you know what? Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, do let us know who you'll be supporting in Qatar, or if you think we should be watching it at all. But after the break, it's National Pyjama Day. I'm getting changed now. We'll tell you how you can support vulnerable preschoolers.
This morning, 60,000 preschool kids will head off to their childcare settings in their jammies, slippers, dressing gowns to celebrate National Pyjama Day. And this is helping to raise money to improve outcomes for their fellow students living with autism and other needs.
Teresa Heeney, CEO of Early Childhood Ireland, and Ciara O'Mara, preschool room leader at Tallaght Childcare Centre in Dublin, are here to explain all to us. Good morning.
Good morning.
Ladies. And before we go on, explain what... You gave me a heart attack when you walked into the studio. I was like, why have they slots with their toys? But I thought they were real at the start. Teresa, explain yourself.
Yeah, so Early Childhood Ireland has been running Pyjama Day now for nearly 20 years. The theme of the event is children helping children and while they're having fun. So the children come in their pyjamas and we ask them to donate whatever they can afford, €1 or €2 or €5. And the money then gets distributed with the help of the Community Foundation, and it gets distributed to charitable projects.
Within the community itself, or
not
just
within the community? No. So this year, the projects that are getting funded out of the funds that are raised this year is a quality project that will happen next year with an Italian organisation called Reggio Emilia, and the second charity that's going to be supported is the Irish Autism charity, As I Am. And just to keep the event alive, we developed a book a couple of years ago that our members, the members of Early Childhood Ireland, use as part of the day. And the book has a couple of characters, and the characters are Sammy and
Sally.
Sammy and Sally the Slots.
Sammy and Sally the Slots. And my fantastic colleagues in Early Childhood Ireland wrote the book and designed the book and have developed all kinds of fantastic personalities for Sammy and Sally.
So, Ciara, you'll probably be reading this morning.
Yes,
you're going to be heading back into your pyjamas.
I can't wait to get the pyjamas on. They're already in waiting in work. But yeah, no, it's a really exciting day for all the children. They come in their pyjamas, we read stories, they get really cosy for the day.
Yeah.
And we're going to make pillow forts and play games and just...
And do they understand what they're doing?
So we're really trying to help the children understand that we're not just wearing our pyjamas, that we're doing it to help others, and so they're really excited about that aspect of it as well. Children are great for wanting to help others, so they really do get involved.
Yeah, I suppose it's so nice though for both of you, particularly Teresa, after the last couple of years. It's a major fundraising event for you, and not being able to do it has impacted your finances massively, I'd say. But to be able to have it this year and go back and be able to come out and about to promote it and get the kids all excited, it must be pretty amazing.
It's just fantastic. I mean, there's 60,000 children arriving into their services this morning, and that's just fantastic. We have, there's about 1,200 services all around the country registered to participate, so there's going to be a lot of excitement in all of those services today. The staff in the services are just brilliant. The operators are brilliant. They go to such lengths. I mean, I've seen beds put on wheels and rolled around estates. I've seen, people dressed in dressing gowns walking up around the town raising money. Just, there's fantastic, floors become mattresses, as Ciara says, pillow fights, all kinds of breakfast in bed, all of the lovely things that we associate with the event.
But it's not just for kids in schools or preschools. Can anyone just throw on their pyjamas today and throw a few quid in?
Well, 100%. And there is that's one of the developments that we have this year. There is a Donate Now button. And the Irish charity that is being supported, the As I Am charity, is really important because there are a lot of autistic children arriving. I'm sure Ciara can tell some of that, talk about children with autism and how important it is to support their inclusion as well. So the funds raised are also going to really, really good causes as well.
And how important would the early intervention of autism be, in a preschool?
It's hugely important.
Yeah.
So every year, even since I've worked in the sector, we've seen more and more children with autism, and just to help the early years staff have the support and the tools to help these children be fully included in everyday life and in their education is really, really important.
Yeah.
Like, that's why charities like this.
And I'd say with COVID and just all the events the last 2 years, like, people have noticed the importance of preschool education, and parents, the kids themselves probably missed it, and the parents notice how much of a difference it makes just for social development and everything.
100%.
Yeah.
There's been a huge, it's been different getting back in with all the children that would have spent time at home.
Yeah.
But hopefully all these sports are coming back now, and we can help all the children the best.
And I think it's really important. I mean, you're right. One of the things that we did see in the pandemic, of course, was that suddenly, miraculously, the importance of investment in early childhood education came to the fore. Like, there was such a crisis about what were families, what were children going to do. And that has resulted in additional in a recognition of the importance of investment in early childhood education. We now see additional investment in recent budgets, and that's really, really important.
Yeah, can I ask you, Ciara, how difficult it has been getting children back, particularly if there's a child on the spectrum, going from the home routine, which they probably got very entrenched in, back to a routine of going out and meeting other people. I mean, like, I don't think you can underestimate how difficult it can be for any child with autism going through that transition and trying to get into a kind of a routine again.
Yeah, so obviously children with autism really benefit from routine. So I'd imagine for parents at home, that was really challenging for the children, taken out of their routine suddenly. And then for them coming back in, children, it was hard at the beginning to get children back used to coming in every day. And there was changes like washing hands all the time and pods and everything. It was very challenging, especially for those children who did have additional needs. So it's great that everything's kind of getting back on track again. But, you know, it was very challenging.
SNAs in a preschool setting at all, or anything
we do
like
have a programme called AIM, which can provide help, but again, it depends on the circumstance of the child. But that is a great support when you can get that in.
Hopefully you'll raise a load of money today. I think you will with your two. What are their names? Sammy and Sally, is it?
Yeah.
Would you like to keep them? Or are you still a bit scared?
I'd love to hold one. They feel really, really comforting.
Oh, look. Isn't this
These are
lovely?
so cute.
Absolutely. Do you know what? I think as well, the amount of mammies and daddies that'll be going on the school run this morning going, way, I don't actually have to change into proper clothes, and I have an excuse. I donate a few quid.
Them from the bed right into the preschool.
I know a lot of mammies, I'm sure out there, might be judged for like getting dressed from the waist up sometimes if they're running late and have pajamas bottom of the morning. But today, any excuse to turn out the window. You can just do what you want. Listen, Ciara and Teresa, thank you so much for joining us today, and best to look with the day. And I've got my new little buddy snuggling here.
The closest I'll get to a real life sloth.
I know sloths in real life are a bit smelly apparently, so you might be right there. Anyway, thank you so much. For more information how to donate to National Pyjama Day, go to earlychildhoodireland.ie. I think you need another coffee.
To celebrate the launch of the Virgin Mobile Cinegame in Odeon cinemas across Ireland, we've teamed up with Virgin Mobile to give away a Samsung Galaxy S22 every day for the next 7 days. The Virgin Mobile Cinegame is a game played on the big screen by the cinema audience as part of the pre-show. Once you download the Cinegame app, you use your mobile phone as the controller to race your friends and the rest of the cinema audience and collect those all-important Virgin Mobile SIM cards for points. For your chance to win one of these amazing Samsung Galaxy S22s, just answer this question. What type of operating system is used by Samsung? A. iOS or B. Android? To enter, call 1550 999 200 or text PRIZE to 57199. Best of luck.
You're very welcome back to Ireland AM. It's just coming up on 8 on this very chilly November Friday morning.
And it is cold. Yes, still to come. He was lifelong friends with Nelson Mandela, made the Queen laugh on more than one occasion. British politician turned author Peter Hain joined us shortly.
It was a busy night in the I'm A Celeb jungle with 2 trials and a day at the beach. We'll have all the gossip later.
And US publishing sensation Jodi Picoult tells us why she won't be surprised if her latest novel gets banned. Find out why after 9 o'clock.
But now we'll see what Catch is up to.
OK, it's the fabric that many thought needed to stay in the 80s, but I'm glad to say it's back for winter 2022. Stylist Shirley Lane joins us and we're talking all about velvet.
Yes.
Audrey looks expensive right now.
It is amazing. Yes, so we've 6 amazing looks, all velvet, all from the high street. So really accessible, but it's beautiful. Such a soft, luxurious fabric.
Yeah.
And again, sometimes if you're not into sparkle, but you still want something wow, I think this
exactly.
is amazing.
It's
a great
factor.
option.
Amazing. Well, looking forward to that. So.
Now, earlier on, you may have seen the weather, and it's a bit nippy outside. I know it's around 6 degrees
chilly.
in Dublin. The Midlands is going around 3-4 degrees. 4 degrees down south. It's not the warmest. And poor old Derek, he's braving the elements for us today. He was so chilly that he had to actually do his own little fitness regime to warm up. Have a look at this. There he is getting ready, jogging on the spot.
He looks like he needs to go to the loo.
Wait for it.
Oh, hang on, he's building up. He's building up.
It's coming. 1, 2, 1, 2, and here we go, Mr. Motivator. Wait for it. Here he is.
He's changed his mind.
He's changed. No, he hasn't. He's waving at the bus.
Waving to the bus driver.
Doesn't want to be caught. I thought he was doing jumping jacks. No, obviously not. He's doing the jumping jacks. Now I say, Derek.
Oh, no, he's doing that indifferent bop. You know that indifferent bop that you get when you're standing at the bar waiting for your pint to settle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some music going on.
Oh, he has got some music going on.
You have the mittens on as well.
Look, lads, it's a party for one here in Clondalkin this morning. It is so cold. So we're just moving around, keeping warm, because we're here in the village all morning.
You're just waiting for that shop to open.
Are you coming down to join us?
Yeah, you're waiting for the shop to open so that you can go to the loo, because it looks as if you're doing a I need to pee jig.
Oh, I'm always doing squats, jumping jacks, whatever we can do to stay warm. You got to do what you got to do. You know what it's like, Martin.
If there's anybody in Clondalkin knocking around there, would you just go up to poor Derek with a hot water bottle? God bless him.
Give him a cup of tea or something.
No, just give him a hug.
Or just
give him a hug.
Body heat. We have all the body heat here in the studio. So.
All right, thanks, Derek. All right.
The things he does for us.
I know.
I was out in that cold yesterday. It was, oh my God, so
I know it is particularly chilly.
But you know where it's not cold?
Qatar.
There you go.
Absolutely not. And there's one Irishman who's heading in the direction of there as we speak. And that's Gary Spain, who's actually heading to his 9th World Cup. We're not in it, but he's going to.
We haven't been in it for a while.
It's been a while. It's been a while since we've been to war. 20 years, is it? No.
Wow. Oh, don't be saying that. It's not. Is it 2002 the last time Saipan?
Is that 20? Yeah, that's 20
World
years
Cup.
ago.
What age were you?
I was 6 or 5. I don't know.
Right. Lovely.
Anyway, do it all over again is the headline that you'll see in your papers today. Gary is from Limerick. He first started going to the World Cup at Italia 90. He was following the boys in green to our first ever World Cup. He'd been to Euro 88 and then went off to Italia 90 and has been going to the World Cups ever since.
Is it a family tradition or is he just
I think it's just his tradition.
Love that.
I don't know if he's going with anybody. That hasn't been established, but he's certainly going. He's paying €300 a night for an apartment. So it's not cheap, but he reckons that, like, he booked it well in advance. He reckons that now is probably 10 times that price.
But they not bring him on the pitch or something? Like, can we put him in contact with somebody there? He's a diehard fan.
Well, he's got 6 tickets for games. He's gone to the first 2 England games, first 2 Wales games, and the first 2 Canada games.
But I mean, it must cost a fortune. Does he just save up every 4 years to do it? Is he loaded? Is he married? Is he about to get divorced? We're going off again. That's what I want to know.
If he's loaded, we want to know.
But this is probably his summer holiday.
Yeah,
he's been saving
in winter.
Yeah, I know. But he went to Italia 90. We've all got great memories of Italia 90. One of my favourites, though, was the ITV News report when we'd just beaten Romania on penalties to get to Rome. And the Irish fans were being followed to Rome by an ITV News reporter. And in the midst of a live report, this fella just jumped in front, grabbed the camera and said, "Love, if you're watching, sell the car and send me the money. Sell the car."
Oh, God.
The joy of it.
I'd say he slept on the couch for a long time after that. Remember, Tmochte against Bonner. God, the good old days. Now, up next, British politician turned author Peter Hain shares his memories of Queen Elizabeth and Nelson Mandela. See you for that in 3.
Yes, stay. Back. You'll know our next guest as a leading politician and anti-apartheid campaigner who has rubbed shoulders with the likes of Nelson Mandela and the late Queen Elizabeth herself.
Now he's turning the spotlight onto poaching in South Africa with his gripping new thriller, The Elephant Conspiracy. Peter Hain, welcome to Ireland AM. It's so lovely that you're joining us this morning.
It's great. Thank you very much for having me on. Good morning.
Good morning. Now, I have to say that I was quite surprised reading your backstory because you're actually originally South African. Tell us how you came from South Africa to the UK.
Well, my parents, young white South Africans, were very active in the anti-apartheid struggle in the late 1950s and early 60s when I was growing up. And they were subject to a lot of police harassment. They were jailed in the middle of the night, and I was woken up as an 11-year-old to be told that they had been. And my brother and sisters were equally, worried about that, naturally. And then they were issued with banning orders, which meant they couldn't take part in political activity. And eventually they stopped my dad working as an architect, and we had to leave the country in 1966. That's a short summary of my life, which was a combination of abnormality. None of my friends at school, white friends or cousins, were involved in anything like this. And so my parents, I always think of them, that they've passed now, but think of them with great pride, because very unusually for whites, they took a stand against the apartheid system, which was giving whites an unprivileged, an unprecedentedly privileged position.
When the family moved to the UK, Peter, that didn't stop your activism when it came to anti-apartheid. You were part of the campaign to stop South African touring teams coming out of South Africa and into Britain.
Yes, I mean, I was a sports mad and still am. Sports mad young white South African boy. And when I came to Britain as a 16-year-old, a few years later, I followed my parents into the British anti-apartheid movement. And of course, there was an Irish anti-apartheid movement led from Dublin by Carter Osmal, who later became a minister under Nelson Mandela's new government. And I got involved in the campaign. I came up with the idea of running on the pitch at Twickenham and elsewhere to stop the matches, because these Springboks were all white. Nobody who didn't have white skin could play for his country. And that went right the way down to school level. I couldn't play against or with anybody who didn't have a white skin as a kid. And the whole sports system was riddled with racism. So I thought that we should target the Springboks and the 1970 cricket tour, which we succeeded in stopping. And it created a huge fuss. And I became a bit of a hate figure. And there was a big demonstration in Dublin as well, of course, at the old Lansdowne Road by Irish anti-apartheid demonstrators. I think it was thousands and thousands of people besieged the ground. So it was massive protests, and such was the pressure that we built up over the Springbok tour of 1969-70, that the 1970 cricket tour, the objective which we'd set, the 1970 cricket tour was actually stopped because it otherwise would have been wrecked.
You were with Nelson Mandela on the eve of his historic election, and I suppose it's just testament to the activism that you participated in and your parents, because it wasn't very common for white South Africans to be so actively involved. Can you tell us what he was like as a man, because he's such an iconic figure for peace and reconciliation throughout the world? He's what people aspire to be like. What was it like being in his company and knowing the man?
Well, extraordinary. You've got the picture me in 1994, just on the eve of that momentous election. And then subsequently, that's another picture when I was British Africa Minister, going out to meet him. And there he is with my wife, Elizabeth, and my dad and my mother. And of course, they'd known him in Pretoria, but he was an amazing person, not just because of his courage and as an iconic, probably the most iconic figure of the 20th century, in my view, certainly political figure that everybody looks up to, regardless of their views, their politics. But he was also an incredible person. I've met a lot of people at the top of society, whether they are kings and queens and presidents and prime ministers, or pop celebrities or sports celebrities. But he stood out as somebody who really was a people's person as well. I mean, I remember, for example, when my mother had broken her leg and was in Swansea Hospital in Wales, where I was an MP for a quarter of a century. And I was escorting Nelson Mandela down in the lift to meet the Prime Minister, Tony Blair. And Prime Ministers have a very tight schedule, and my duty was to get him there spot on. And as we were going down in the lift, he said, how's your mum? And I said, well, she's broken her leg. I must speak to her, he says. So I have to find her phone number in this hospital ward from Director of Inquiries. Eventually I get through. Meanwhile, we've come out of the lift and there are about 20 or 30 staff from the hotel, porters, cleaners, bar staff, waitresses, waiters, all lined up. They must have known he was coming out. And he's happily chatting to them away. I finally get my mother, hand him the phone. He says, "Hello, this is Mandela from South Africa. Do you know who I am?" kind of self-deprecating manner. And when I introduced Elizabeth, my wife, and you saw the picture in 2003, just after we got married, so he says to her, "So you caught him then, did you?" She's a very kind of independent woman, quite a feminist, and she said, "No, it wasn't like that. It was the other." "Oh," he says, "they all say that." They all say that. So I can tell you lots of other stories. I'll tell you one involving the Queen, when on his 90th birthday, the Queen phoned him in the middle of this rather raucous party. And he took the phone and he said, "Hello, Elizabeth, how's the Duke?" and his wife, Gracia Michelle, herself a formidable woman, really reprimanded him after this. "You cannot refer to Her Majesty like that." To which he replied innocently, "But she calls me Nelson."
Yeah.
True.
It's very true.
He had that sort of self-deprecating humour and sense of mischief in private, but of course an extraordinary figure.
Peter, I have to ask you, of course, your name probably came to prominence for most of people on this side of the pond as your role as Secretary in Northern Ireland. I suppose you were uniquely placed in dealing with the situation there because your knowledge of what had happened in South Africa. How much did Nelson Mandela's influence inform you in how to deal with everything that was going on there?
Well, in this way, that when I came to office as Secretary of State in 2005, the election had just been held in Northern Ireland as well, and Sinn Féin became the leading party, overtaking the SDLP on the nationalist side, and Ian Paisley's Democratic Unionist Party became the leading unionist party. And there was a lot of depression in Whitehall and in Downing Street because they'd been dealing with the centre parties like, Seamus Mallon and John Hume on the SDLP side. And then suddenly we were, and also, of course, David Trimble of the Ulster Union. Suddenly they were the two most polarised parts of Northern Ireland politics. But I thought, actually, we can do the deal with them and it'll stick, because there was nobody really of any significance either side of them to the more extremes. And that was the lesson from South Africa, because in the end, the deal was done between Nelson Mandela and his white oppressors, the two most polarized parts of South African society. It wasn't done in the center. So I brought that understanding, but it was an extraordinary privilege to be negotiating on Tony Blair to get Martin McGuinness and Ian Paisley to that extraordinary "it'll never happen" moment, and they became happily share power together.
And they became friends, which was
they did. Named the Chuckle Brothers. The interesting thing about both of them was they were actually very warm people in private, and my job was to get to know them very well and to build their trust, which is what I was able to do.
The reason you're on, because we know you as politician, we know you as anti-apartheid campaigner. We're getting to know you an awful lot more as author, and you're back to South Africa with your book, The Elephant Conspiracy. Tell us about it.
Yes, well, it consists of, it's really about poaching, and we have a vague idea that elephants in particular, rhinos, lions now are an endangered species, largely because of poaching. And I discovered in the course of visiting safari parks and understanding more, going back to South Africa more often in recent years, both to holiday and also to teach, that actually the poaching is part of an international crime syndicate going all the way up to gangsters in China and Vietnam and other parts of East Asia, where rhino horns are ground down into powder and elephant tusks of very, very sought-after ivory, trinkets and so on, and can command massive amounts of money, greater than gold or other valuable items. And so there's this international trafficking of wildlife, and it's protected by corrupt politicians. So in essence, the elephant conspiracy just published, which we're talking about today, and then the rhino conspiracy, which preceded it, are both thrillers about how bands of people try to tackle these international crime syndicates and the corrupt politicians protecting them. And it's set in South Africa, and there's lots of real-life action around them, and then some entirely fictional incidents as well.
Peter, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Looking forward to reading your back catalogue after your recent novel. But once again, thank you so much. And a reminder,
thank you for having me on.
Peter's thriller, The Elephant Conspiracy, is available now online and in all good bookshops.
Well, it's the fabric that kept the 80s fashion industry afloat, and it's making a return this season.
So how do you wear velvet this winter? Stylist Shirley Lane will tell us how. Good morning, Shirley.
Good morning.
I have to say, I'm a big fan of velvet, whether it's in fashion or out of fashion. It's just so sumptuous.
I love it. I think it just feels luxurious, and the skin, away from that, it's extremely comfortable to wear. Like, it's really soft on the body. But I have velvet in my wardrobe for years, and those pieces come back. Like, I have velvet blazers and stuff like that, but I love them. And I just feel when you put them on, they look a bit glam. But I just feel that there's a little bit of luxury with velvet. And away from that, you're going into like your winter kind of party season and stuff. So if you're not a fan of all-in sequins, velvet is a lovely stepping stone that you still feel glam without the bling.
Wow.
And this is absolutely gorgeous. So Audrey has this dress. It's from Reese in BT2. It's so beautiful.
It's almost like a corset built into it or something.
Yes, so you have the most beautiful darting down the waist, so it just gives that incredible silhouette. But again, Reese, you're buying quality, you're buying that amazing feel. And again, in Reese, you just feel special.
It's your classic little black dress, really. That will never go out of fashion.
Never. And you'd have something like this. And you know what? There's winter weddings, or there's weddings New Year's Eve and Christmas parties. Something like this is absolutely gorgeous. But I don't think this is ever going to date. I think something like this in your wardrobe, you could take it out every winter. But I think there's just something special about it, something a bit different. But it's gorgeous. And there's quite a high slit at the back. I'll just get Audrey to turn there slightly. But it's beautiful.
Very flattering.
Oh,
and the
so
detail.
flattering. It's stunning. And again, us women, sometimes we want a sleeve. And it's nice to have a sleeve without feeling too covered up. And these gorgeous sandals, these are Steve Madden from BT2. Absolutely gorgeous. So you're getting your little bit of sparkle without too much bling, you know. But
is there a bit of give in that fabric?
Amazing.
Or is it purely tailored?
Loads of give.
That's what I like about velvet. It's often quite flatteringly cut.
Of give. And again, the dress also comes in something like a jumpsuit, which is amazing. Now, I love this.
From black to French navy.
Yes, I love it. I think it's so rich and sumptuous. It's fab. But again, this is how this dress, you just put on. You walk out the door, you don't even have to think of accessories.
It's effortless chic.
Effortless. You just put it on over your head. And again, I think the navy is lovely and rich, but it's beautiful. And velvet doesn't have to be black. You know, if you can get green velvet, navy velvet, I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Whistles, again, we're going with premium quality. So it's a little bit more expensive, teamed with this gorgeous Hobbs bag. And these brands are in BT2 and Blanchardstown Centre, so they're upstairs, but all under the one roof. It's amazing. But I love the length. Ali is quite tall, so obviously...
So it'll be a bit longer than the likes of me, basically.
And myself. So it'll be a little bit longer, but I just think it's the most beautiful shape. Gorgeous little heels here, and absolutely fab.
Perfect for a Christmas party or something.
Yeah.
Like a work party, you'd wear something like that.
A work party would be absolutely gorgeous, or a night out, or dinners out. But it just feels amazing on the skin.
And now what is everywhere this season is the suit, and we've got a lovely take on that there. It's a textured velvet.
It is a textured velvet, and it is beautiful green tone. But I love it. It's like a brushed velvet, right? That gorgeous little bit of texture in there. But this one is from Quiz in Blanchardstown Centre. But Quiz have fabulous bits at the minute. Really, really up their game, and lots But what I love about Chris actually is such a really great range of sizing as well. You know, they start from size 4 to 6 right up to size 18 to 20. Plus they have their curve range. Amazing. But it's beautiful. You know, if you don't want to dress, I think a suit is such a great option.
And the double-breasted in the blazer is lovely as well, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, it is lovely. I just seem to do a little simple cami here, but something like the double breast, you could even keep it closed. And again, we're coming away from the skinny fit trouser. These are a very slim fit palazzo. So there's not acres of fabric in the leg, so you're not going to feel swamped in like the width of the trouser.
Yeah, but it balances out the shoulders as well, because I think with the jacket you need quite a strong shoulder, the structure there, and it just gives the nice,
gives a gorgeous nice balance. It really is a nice balance, and these gorgeous heels, and these are from Chris. But look at the little ankle strap; they're gorgeous.
Oh my God! Look at we need more of that ankle strap. That's fabulous.
My God, that is fabulous.
They're beautiful. But I just love the colour. I think the green is lovely. I think it's lovely and rich. But velvet is all over the high street. It's in practically every store. All of these are brand new stock, all for Blanchardstown Centre. All actually only arrived in the last week. So it's nice to see the high street and a mix of kind of that luxury versus high street prices.
It's lovely. It also reminds me of Christmas, the velvet stuff, Mrs. Claus and all
I
that.
love it.
Not really anything like that yet, but maybe in the next hour. Thank you so much, Shirley. And now, after the break, we're heading to the jungle for the latest I'm a Celeb goss.
But before that, fancy bagging yourself a new car? Well, you're in luck. All we have this week is a Toyota Ireland car to give you, and you're in the chance of winning something cool. It's a Toyota Igo Cross. Sorry, my mouth is... Anyway, well,
here's all you need to know.
We've teamed up with Toyota Ireland to give you the chance to turn heads like a celebrity in the Toyota Igo Cross, the compact crossover built for everyday life. For your chance to win, just call or text the numbers on screen and answer the question.
Welcome back. Last night it was a two-trial Thursday for poor Owen, Matt, Sue and Jill. For Owen that was. Matt, Sue and Jill spent a day at the beach. Bit windy, but they were eating proper food, so they were happy with that. Anyway, the first camp eviction of 2022 was announced will be happening this very evening. Online comedian Jen Hatton and FM 104's Graham O'Toole are back with me this week to discuss what went on last night, what's to come tonight. But before we chat to them, it seems Charlene is really starting to wind Scarlett up. Take a look at this.
If you're gutting a fish, always do it down this way, the thinnest part, just for the outside.
Charlene may have lended a hand in the kitchen. Oh, she's the deputy. She's not supposed to be touching the food.
No, cut it across and then just slice, like you're doing coastal.
Okay.
And then you can stir-fry that up like you would do if you're doing like a Chinese or something.
Okay.
Boiling it will take a lot of the flavour out of it.
Okay.
Tonight, I've just been like, it is what it is. This is how you cut a cabbage. You cut it up.
I saw the whole thing, and I was like,
thank you. I said, do you know what? Now that you've done it like that, I remember that's exactly how my mum does it. You're right. That is how you cut a cabbage.
Oh, heavens above. Yeah, Charlene is handing out food advice, which is about as welcome as a wart, Jen. Yeah, she's kind of rubbing up people the wrong way.
She's doing the micromanaging and she's getting a bit pedantic with stuff, and I think combined with the boredom and the hunger and I presume all the bites and everything that they're getting, and the mugginess is just going to rub people up the wrong way.
Yeah, it's certainly saying. And Scarlett was not happy.
I'm telling you, if there's a way to cut a cabbage, you got to cut it right. I'm on Charlene's side here. Do you know, she's watching Scarlett do it wrong. I like things done right, Martin. So if you got to cut the cabbage right, you got to cut the cabbage right. They don't have much food in there, so let's do it right. Team Charlene all the way on this one. Sorry, Jen.
You really are, just because of a bit of cabbage.
Well, things need to be done right, and I'm kind of going off Scarlett a little bit.
I'm not a big fan of Scarlett anyway.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Scarlett myself. Yeah.
It was when... It was a couple of nights ago when Boy George was really grilling Matt Hancock about the British government spending on defence. And I was like, this is what we tuned in for. This is why they pay the big bucks. And then she distracted him by telling him his socks were hanging up dry. And I was like, Scarlett, stop trying to defend Matt Hancock here. And after that, I was kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Let's get a bit of juicy drama out of it.
Yeah, I think Boy George did pick up on that all right. That every time there was anything tricky going on, she was taking him away from there. Were you surprised, Jen, that Charlene was chosen for tonight's
Absolutely
trial?
not. No, she's definitely getting on people's nerves, and she deserves it. It's what we want to see.
Okay.
Do you know? I'm really looking forward to seeing how she coped in the hammock, first of all. Because this whole RV thing and the bed thing...
Why won't she just sleep in the RV?
Because of a couple of spiders. And now, look, I have friends that, you know, sometimes if there's a spider in my house, you know, this time of year they all start coming in and it's mating season and all that. And you take a picture of it sometimes, and I'm constantly told to burn the house and move out. So there are people that just cannot cope. So I do hope that there's spiders in today's challenge as well, which is evil. But it'll be entertaining.
But that's what we like to see. But is it that she doesn't want to get in the RV because, for her, the biggest spider of the lot, Matt Hancock, is in the bed next to her and she doesn't want to be seen?
I will say with that, it's incredibly frustrating when you have a mattress up there and she's just point blank. And she's kind of getting a bit aggro with people about it. The fact that they're going, no, you have a bed. But what I don't understand is there's rats outside. Like you saw Chris Moyles going to the toilet and there was a rat that ran by. It's like, are you not more afraid of rats than spiders? I don't know, maybe she just has a fear of the spider, but get in that RV, will you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Chris was trying to, you know, pacify himself by saying it was a mouse.
No.
Mice only grow so big. Let's talk about the trials, right? Firstly, with Owen on the wheel, he seems to be picking up a lot of his colour balls last night so that he'd get to go to the beach for a little bit of a barbie.
Absolutely, yeah. And look, I felt so sorry for Owen. I really like Owen. At the start, he wasn't getting enough screen time. He's getting a bit more now. I think he has great potential to win it. And even though it was a real cheeky move by getting your ball, you kind of can't do anything but love it. You know, like you love to see it. And then the amount of balls, what was it? He had 11 by the end of it, and he still didn't get it. 2 balls Sue went to the beach. Like it was absolutely hilarious. And then he had to do the other trial. I can't imagine though having to be upside down, getting ran through water. Could you imagine your ears? And then Jill with the cockroach in the eye. What did the cockroach? What was he thinking? I want to know what he was thinking. It was just, I was absolutely. And then she was like a rotisserie chicken as well. God love her. Like, it was just, oh God, that was a messy one. And then even the ants going on Mike, and he was like, Anna, come on, there was no need for. Look at the size of the thing.
Directly on him. But that's the point of it.
I know, it was fun to watch.
But then we got the second trial. Where now Scarlett would have won a lot of favour.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because of the advice and the motivation she was given to the others.
That would have freaked me out, having those rats around my face. Like, incredibly scary. Like, they were properly going on. There was fun up there. Poor old Babatunde. Like, why did he bother going on this show at all? He's afraid of heights. He's afraid of water. He's afraid of bullfrogs. Like, it seemed like last night that bullfrogs was one of his fears that he had all his life. I don't think he ever would have come into contact with bullfrog before. And to be fair, I think he got the best out of the three of them, having the frogs over snakes and rats in his box. And you can see his head was half out. You can see the kind of the rubber bit was like around his nose.
Just see his eyes.
It was like that.
Yeah.
I was glad to see a box of frogs. I'm always saying it. Like, mad as a box of frogs. I was like, oh, that's what
it is.
That's where it came from. That's where it originated from.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Babatunde, thank you for that, for confirming it for us. Anyway, she won an awful lot of fans. And anyway, she needs to win a lot of fans, as, well, they all do, because tonight is the first eviction.
Yes.
So what do you think? Who's going?
I think Matt Hancock could go, and only because this time last week when we were sitting here, he was in every single trial and people were voting him. I think the novelty is worn off of having Matt Hancock there.
Was he not clever saying, these trials are great, I'm actually feeling more confident, and all of a sudden he hasn't done a trial since.
Well, see, when they were trying to nominate themselves, he was putting himself forward because he knows he needs to be in front of the camera to kind of get a bit of public favour back, and they were like, no, let other people do it. And I think he could be in danger. I think people could be getting a bit tired of him now. What do you think, Jen?
Yeah, I think, well, the British public in general, I think, don't want him to be benefiting at all from this.
Can't trust them with voting either.
You can't. They always let you down. Like, I think he should go, but I don't know if the show will let that happen. I'm not putting on my tinfoil hat or saying there's a conspiracy theory, but I think he's too good to be gone first. I think there's a good chance of Charlene leaving.
Yeah, I think Charlene's number might be up as well.
Yeah.
We will wait and see. She's rubbing up a lot of people, including viewers, the wrong way. Yeah. Anyway, for now, Jen, Graham, thanks so much. Remember, you can watch I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here tonight at 9 o'clock on Virgin Media 1 to find out who's the first one out. Or, of course, you can catch up on the Virgin Media player, where all episodes are available. We'll take a break. We'll see you back here in just a few minutes. welcome back to Ireland AM. With you for another hour before Alison and Dermot take over.
And still to come, she is the author of best-selling book and Cameron Diaz starring movie My Sister's Keeper. Jodi Picoult and her co-author Jennifer Finney Boylan tell us how bees fit into a murder mystery.
Well, they've got a sting, haven't they?
Oh,
got a thing going on about them, you never know. Plus, at the catwalk, we'll be revisiting velvet and showing how to wear it this winter.
But for now, we'll see what Catch is up to in the kitchen.
Thanks, Elaine. Well, we're making lasagna, but not as you know it. Louise Lennox joins us. So what's different about this lasagna?
We're having lasagna on a stick. So it's all the deliciousness that we love in lasagna, the white sauce, the bechamel, the pasta. And the beauty about this is it's not like an hour in the oven. It takes 5 minutes under the grill.
Quick and easy.
It's so quick and easy and more.
What we need. Yeah, so all of that to come. But first...
Now, here's the sound I never thought again. I'd hear again, sorry. Yeah, remember?
No, it only just left the door.
It only just left the door, but the door is a revolving one clearly because it's back in again. It was announced yesterday that Neighbours, which had finished after 37 years, is now going to be made again thanks to Amazon. So it's
this is a quicker comeback than Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Amazon, Freeview and Fremantle have decided, sure, it's just too nice. We'll bring it back. So what do you think about that? Does it make you happy, Martin?
Does it make me happy? It makes me think of all the people who bought them going away presents who will say, here, hang on a minute, can I have my money back?
Yeah, but hopefully they'll all have a job again because the old stalwarts are coming back because we've the likes of Stephen Dennis, who plays Paul Robinson, we've Ryan Maloney, who's Toady, Alan Fletcher, who's Carl Kennedy, Jackie Woodburn, who's Susan Kennedy. They're all coming back to Ramsey Street. So once upon a time, we thought it was R.I.P. Neighbours, and now they're back again.
Margot Robbie, Kylie Minogue, the air miles they put in just to go back for the last episode.
Guy Pearce, you had Holly Valance, Natalie Bruglia, they all came back for the big farewell.
They might as well have just sent a text.
Jason Donovan.
Yeah.
Delta Goodrum.
But what was it? Was it the people demanding, like, we want it back, we need it back? Or, like, what do you think?
Well, there was an awful lot of people online giving out mad over it. But in fairness, streamers do have a history of doing this. Brooklyn Nine-Nine was about to be axed, and I know that was picked up by Netflix for another season because I think if the people power is there, people are kind of saying, yeah, maybe terrestrial TV might be able to do it, but we will and see how it runs.
Yeah, it was just one of those shows you'd always watch. Like, I remember, I probably started watching it from, like, 2005 onwards. It'd be Neighbours, The Simpsons, and Home and Away. And speaking of The Simpsons, I've got something interesting on The Simpsons here. So do you know the way they're known for predicting real-life events?
Yeah.
So one of their latest predictions has actually come true on Tuesday. So in 2015, The Simpsons predicted in an episode called Trump 2024 that Donald Trump would want his old job back, and Donald Trump is running for, well, they predicted he'd be running for a 2024 campaign. And on Tuesday, in his Palm Beach home in Florida, he said he wants his old job back. Can you believe that? Oh, I know. Lord save us, but like they've been predicting so much. They predicted FaceTime being invented in 2010. There was an episode in 1995 at Lisa's wedding. Lisa and Marge were shown talking over a phone's video chat feature in 2010, and then Steve Jobs went ahead and announced FaceTime in 2010. Isn't that crazy?
It's like Nostradamus of the telly.
But
And do you remember that episode?
Only scarier.
There's an episode, I remember the e-voting, when Homer was in the booth trying to vote for Obama and kept saying Mitt Romney, Mitt Romney. And it happened.
I think John McCain's name kept coming up or something.
Anyway, up next together, they've written a total of 48 books. Authors Jodi Picoult and Jennifer Finney Boylan join us after the break. Don't go anywhere.
Back. Our next guests have between them written 48 books, had their work optioned for the screen and made the New York Times bestseller list, and their latest book, Mad Honey, was named Good Morning America's Book Club pick for October.
Authors Jodi Picoult and Jennifer Finney Boylan join us now. Good morning, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
I have to say, Jodi, you are a world-renowned author. I mean, the first time I talked to you was well more than a decade ago. But I have to say, this is the first time I've heard of you collaborating with somebody. What was it like working with somebody else on a work like this?
It's actually the second time I've collaborated. The first time was with my writer, Samantha, on a young adult novel. The difference is that when I was working with Jenny, I couldn't tell her to go to her room, although she said that I did. And honestly, it was a delight in many ways. You know, there was a lot of learning about our own writing styles and how to combine them. But Jenny is such a fantastic writer that every time she would send me a chapter, all I would want to do was write something equally as good. So I think in many ways, readers are getting us both at our best in this book.
Okay. Jennifer, I like, there's a very famous speech that Martin Luther King made, I have a dream, I had a dream, and you had one as well, and that's how this collaboration came about.
I did. This is a true story. 5 years ago, I woke from a dream in which I was doing just this, co-authoring a book with Jodi Picoult, which is unusual because, you know, normally my dreams are not that specific. Usually I dream about, you know, fighting a giant squid at the airport or something. But there was a dream, and the dream was very much what this book is. It was two voices in communication: a young woman who'd been murdered and the mother of her boyfriend who was accused of the crime. And I did what any normal author would do, which is I went on Twitter immediately and tweeted out, I just dreamed I was co-authoring a book with @Jodi Picoult, who happened to be online at that exact moment. And Jodi wrote me a message and said, what was this book about? And I told her what the dream was, and she wrote back, LOL, let's do it. Like that second, she said, okay, sure. And that's how the book came about. It was really the result of a dream.
Jodi, but how did your writing styles complement each other? I mean, it must be kind of challenging to do that if you've never worked with someone before.
Yeah, one of the things that we learned very early on was, first of all, that I am a control freak. I was the one who...
She's a massive control freak.
I had to house the document on my computer. I had to be the one who was inputting Jenny's chapters. We also learned that I do a lot of pre-writing in my head. You know, when you sit down to write a novel, these are not things you think about. You literally sit down and do the work. But for me, I think when I'm walking, when I'm cooking, when I'm showering, when I'm swimming, I'm thinking of what a chapter is going to look like, what the characters are going to say, what the structure is going to be. So when I sit down to write, I usually have a very good sense of what that first draft looks like. Jenny is very different from that. She writes multiple drafts and she corrects herself on the page. The other thing that's different between us is that I am a plotter and Jenny is not. She usually just writes and sees where the wind takes her. And first of all, there was no way I was ever going to do that. And second of all, when you're writing a book that is a courtroom drama and a murder mystery like this is, you can't get to the end and say, I don't know who did it. So for that reason alone, we did decide to plot out the book.
Okay, but yeah, okay. So you organise each other, you organise yourselves in a certain way. But Jenny, if you don't mind me asking, who took on what parts, what chapters?
Well, early on, we decided we would split these two voices between the two of us. So I took on the voice of the young girl, Lily, the girl who's killed, and Jodi mostly wrote the voice of the mom, Olivia. However, we agreed early on that we would also swap characters for one chapter each, in part because we thought it was good practice for writers to inhabit each other's characters to prove we could really do it, but also as kind of a puzzle for the reader. We want you to figure out which one of the Jodi chapters is Jenny and which one of the Jenny chapters is Jodi. Also, the girl that it gets murdered, Lily, she's gone. That's not a spoiler. She's gone by the end of chapter 1. That's Olivia's chapter. At chapter 2, we go to Lily and we hear about the last minutes of her life. And then the next time we see her, it's a week before the murder. And the next time we see her after that, it's 2 weeks before. So this is the very diabolical thing, that the Lily chapters go backwards in time so that we learn more and more about her going back, whereas the Olivia chapters go forward in time through the arrest of her son and the courtroom drama and all of that. It sounds very complicated, but if we did our job right, I hope it feels really seamless.
Jodi, where did the idea for having one of the central characters as a beekeeper come from? Because that was quite unusual.
Yeah, so this book, when I think about this book, it is the story of a woman named Olivia McAfee, who has escaped an abusive marriage with her son Asher. When the book opens 18 years later, she is a beekeeper, and her son Asher is madly in love with the new girl in school, Lily, who Jenny just told you about, until Olivia gets a phone call from her son saying, Lily is dead and Asher's being questioned by the police. I knew Lily was going to be a beekeeper very early on because this book is, among other things, about what it means to be a woman. And as many of you know, girls run the bee world. You know, there is a queen bee, and every worker bee in a hive is a female. All of the metaphors surrounding bees, how they develop, how they work, all of that plays into the story of the book. To give you a little tiny taste of that, and a little bit about what this book hints at too, when a queen bee isn't doing her job, it's up to other worker bees, nurse bees, to create a new queen bee. And basically, they have a choice of choosing any old larva in a cell. If they pick a fertilized egg larva, that would normally hatch into a female bee, but they feed it something called royal jelly, and it turns instead into a queen bee, takes over, runs the hive, gets rid of the old sick queen bee. But if they happen to choose an unfertilized egg larva, which is a drone egg, which would be a male bee, and they feed it only royal jelly, guess what? It too turns into a queen bee.
Okay, and with that, and that is quite appropriate, and hence the name, hence the title of the book, because one of the things and one of the issues that you touch on is trans women and what it's like to be a person who is transitioning. So, can I ask you, Jodi, why you wanted to do this in this book?
Absolutely. I have been asked for many years by my fans if I'm going to write about gender and identity, and that was something that I really did want to write about. When I think about this book, it reminds me the most of my novel, Small Great Things, which talked about racism and white privilege, and which I hope gave people vocabulary and a springboard for discussion about a topic that we really all need to be discussing. This does, I hope, the same thing with gender and identity. And, you know, for me, being able to write this with Jenny, whose lived experience as a woman was so different from mine, made it really a gift for me when she dropped into my lap via Twitter. She seemed to be the perfect person to write this book with.
Yeah, Jen, I do have to ask you as well, because you said you've a couple of decades since you transitioned, but some of that time was actually spent here in Ireland. You worked in UCC in Cork. What was life like for you then, and what's your connection now to the country?
You know, it's funny. Well, my connection now is that I continue to have to share a house out in Ballyferriter, out on the Dingle Peninsula. So I try to come back at least once a year if I can, and also to see old friends in Cork. I love teaching at UCC. I just think Cork is such a great city, and but the conversation around trans issues really changed in Ireland. You know, 25 years ago when I first came here, it was just not part of the conversation. It was something that no one had ever heard of, and now it seems to be. I mean, it's remarkable to me how Ireland has become, in many ways, not in every way, but in so many ways, a more accepting, open, and progressive country where there really is room for everybody.
Yeah, I suppose when Dr. Lydia Foy brought her case to the High Court to get her passport, that was really a pivotal moment here for us here in Ireland. So can you tell us now, will you be continuing another collaboration together? Is it a team that worked for you both, Jodi?
I loved working with Jenny. Like I said, it was great fun. It was a lot of work. And I think we brought out the best in each other. And if we had the right story to team up on again, I wouldn't even hesitate to say, let's do it.
And I would work with Jodi in a heartbeat as well, not even just because of the story, but just because you could not have a better friend on the page or off than Jodi Picoult. And I hope that readers can feel that too. When someone responds to a crazy dream of yours by saying, LOL, let's do it, that's a spirit of acceptance and welcome that is really part of who Jodi is. And I think her readers know that, and I hope people will see that in this book too.
Well, Jenny, I think you need to go to sleep and have another dream. and get the plot for the next book. Proof that dreams come true.
Yeah.
It is a dream come true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you both so much for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you so much for having us.
Okay, Jodi and Jennifer's book, Mad Honey, is available in all good bookshops.
Inspired by nature, powered by light. Becco Harvest Fresh sponsors cookery on Ireland AM.
Yes, welcome back. We're talking cheese now in the kitchen with a perfect pasta recipe that's not only delicious but portable.
Yes, joining us now with her recipe for lasagna sticks is our Chef Supreme, Louise Lennox. Thank you so much for joining.
Well, I got out of the school run this morning, so I'm always happy to come into studio. Nobody's screaming at me.
I'm always happy to eat pasta, so...
Well, do you know what? I came up with this recipe because I have got a son who, at his worst, was a really bad fussy eater. He was down to 10 foods, and I've been through hell and back, and it's been a huge journey. So I've rediscovered how we eat and how I cook food and kind of look at food. So this lasagna recipe is awesome. First of all, what I have in here is some beef, and I'm going to give you loads of science tips because it's Science Week this week. So you would think the humble meat sauce is just a bit boring, but there's a lot of know-how that goes into this and amazing ingredients. So what I have here is some meat, and the trick with meat is I actually don't put oil in this.
What? No.
Because there's enough fat in the meat. The fat is the flavour. So people will put in oil and then they drain. I'm like, that's too much washing up. I don't want to wash the sieve. And your flavour's in the meat. So I actually just cook it out. And the more you brown it, the more flavour you bring on the beef.
Right.
And then what I do is I get carrot and then I get a stick of celery, shallot and some garlic. And I just put in my mini chopper. I'm all over mini choppers. Years ago, before I had kids, I would chop all this by hand. And now mini choppers have revolutionised my life. Me and my blender have become the best friends.
Now, could you put it in a smoothie blender? Because I'm still chopping it like the old way.
Absolutely. Smoothie blender. But sometimes you need to put in a little bit more because if it's a really small amount, you mightn't get that blend. So what you could do is you could put the veg in there with the tin of tomatoes and you chop it all up. It's all going to basically cook down to nothing. Okay. So you let that sweat off for a few minutes. And then what I'm adding in is a tin of chopped tomatoes. Now, what's going to give this a flavour boost is my umami flavours. So what I have here is tomato puree. So umami is the fifth flavour that we taste in our mouth. Very hard to describe. It's like a Japanese word. Some people say it's delicious, it's savoury flavour, but it gives a dish a well-rounded flavour. So if you ever have a dish that's a bit flat and boring, if you can learn what ingredients umami is in, and it's normally stuff that we have in our stove cupboard at hand. So what I have here is tomato puree. So that is loaded with umami. So that's going to boost the flavour. And then I don't season my sauce actually with salt. I season this with soy sauce because this has so much umami flavour in it. It's going to bring this to a new level of flavour.
Soy sauce?
Yeah, soy sauce. I chuck out the salt for this, not joking.
And it goes well with beef soy sauce, doesn't it? It goes
really well with beef.
Yeah.
Beef's high in umami as well. I'm putting in a few herbs. And then what I have here is some beef stock. Don't throw out baby bottles, anyone that's watching this. You keep them. I'm not joking. I can have this in my lovely bag with my makeup and my shoes, and I can drive with confidence knowing that this ain't going to spill anywhere. And then, so that all gets cooked down. I've got another secret ingredient here that I don't think many people use. They use it all over Italy when they're making ragouts, is milk. So what milk does, it tenderises meat. So it reacts with the enzymes in the protein here, the milk properties do, the calcium, and it's going to make it really soft. So a lot of kids that would be fussy eaters, actually meat is something they have a lot of trouble eating because it's very fibrous. They can fatigue when they're eating. So sometimes when they don't eat the meat, it's not because they don't like it, because it's chewy and it's difficult for them. This actually is going to tenderise that. So what you do then is just let that cook for like an hour. If you have a slow cooker, you just chuck it in there because I just see the slow cooker means that I have to stir.
And is it on low heat or medium heat?
Low heat, yeah, low and slow, and that's going to bring out the flavour.
And that would just reduce down and
let it reduce, and then what you can do is taste the end. If you want to add a bit of sauce seasoning, go ahead, but I don't season that because that soy sauce has enough in it. Now, when it's finished, what I do is I put in my mini chopper again for two reasons. My son gets really turned off by chunks of meat, so I like to make it really smooth for him, and it's easier to actually put on these pasta sticks. So just before I put that on, what I have here is some plain pasta and whole wheat pasta. Now, when you are trying to boost up a little bit of fibre in your diet, or if you've got kids that are a little bit fussy, a lot of us shop on autopilot. So we normally buy the same pasta just because that's what we do. So if you could change it up, like there's not much of a colour difference between this and the wholemeal pasta, and it's called a slight noticeable difference. So even here, these are like little ones for like kid sizes. I have like 2 little bits of wholemeal pasta. You might think it's a big deal, but it's getting their head used to pasta isn't just the same, because we're conditioning them by always giving them the same shape pasta, the same colour. So you thread this on. I haven't soaked these in water because it would make the pasta slip down. So this is what it looks like. Yes, you can lift it up. And then I have just a bit of meat sauce. So I'm just going to brush that on. This is great for the kids because they love threading pasta, and then they can brush this on themselves, and it's getting them used to the smells and the actual look of the food. Now, I have made white sauce. I don't have enough time to make it in here, so you can see it on my Instagram, but it's all in one. You put the flour, the butter, and the milk all together, and then just whisk it up. When it's all cold, it's not going to be lumpy, and it's a smooth sauce. And then you can put it inside a freezer bag or a piping. I love piping bags. Yeah. And then you just pipe it along here. See how fast that is? It's super smooth and silky. And then I just top it off with some cheese.
So we are making lasagna.
This is lasagna.
Lasagna sticks.
My issue with lasagna, Martin, is my husband adores it, and my issue is that it takes an hour in the oven, and I don't like wasting oven, so I'm going to put lasagna in it. I'm going to feel obliged to put something else in the oven, and then before I know it, lasagna's happening tomorrow, not today. And then as well, going back to like feeding my son, he used to be really off-put by a big chunk of wedge of lasagna on his plate. It's a mixed texture. When you're giving this to kids, if they're not like welcome to lasagna, you're using a pasta they're normally used to, which is penne pasta, and then if you like it al dente, a lot of the time lasagna is really overcooked meat, and it just kind of goes a bit like mushy in your mouth.
Is it true that you run it with cold water so it kind of solidifies a bit?
So when I finish cooking it, I put under cold water, and I actually don't put any oil in it because I want it to be sticky. I want the starch to stick together. And then all you do is you grill that. Like it's 5 minutes under a preheated hot grill, and you have got the deliciousness of lasagna. Now, one tip I do, because I don't steep this in water, I put some tin foil around the stick here, and that prevents it from going on fire in your oven or overcooking. And then look, you were asking, you can lift these up. Now I'm going to give you one to taste. I do have like kids portions, but I can tell you that my 2-year-old very active toddler ate 2 of these yesterday. I was trying to get a photograph of these, and she was screaming on my favourite pink chair at home, trying to grab these.
Look at this presentation.
But they're great. They're great for like parties. And what I love about these is you can eat them as a snack, as lunch, or serve up a couple more portions for your dinner.
A lasagna lollipop.
A lasagna lollipop. I like the alliterations of that, Mark.
It works.
Are you going to try something?
Martin, do you know what I'm going to do, Martin? I'm going to change the name of this as lasagna lollipops.
Lasagna lollipops. Just remember, you heard it here first, and I've now got the copyright.
And now I've stolen it, so forget about that copyright.
Okay,
I'll see you in court.
Yes. All right. Remember, full recipe details are up on our website, and of course, you can follow Louise on Instagram. Just search for @Louise Lennox.
These are so good. Well, coming up, we have catwalk and some more velvet style. So
would you like me to say that while you're eating your lasagna lollipop?
Yeah, you see, I can't multitask.
Okay.
We'll see you in a bit.
Inspired by nature, powered by light. Becco Harvest Fresh sponsors cookery on Ireland AM.
You're very welcome back. Stylist Shirley Lane has stayed with us. And she is here to assure us that velvet is a fabric that we should be adding to our wardrobes this winter. How are you? Thank you for joining us once again. So what delight have you for us now?
Yes, so we're sticking with the whole velvet trend just because I love it, and I think it's great for those that don't want loads of sparkle but want something a little bit more glam. But I just feel that we always get a touch of luxury with velvet. So we're going to start with Audrey, and Audrey's beautiful jumpsuit. And this, again, is a classic, timeless piece that you're going to have in your wardrobe forever.
Is the belt detachable on that?
It is. And the belt actually has great length in it, so it's not a really tight belt across the waist. You can kind of loosen it wherever you want. But this one is from Mango and Blanchardstown Centre. What a great price, $69.99. You're dressed head to toe. It's one whole outfit, and you know what? It's not tied into Christmas party season. If you're going out for dinner or anything like that, this is perfect. But it's beautiful. It's so warm and cozy. It feels amazing on.
It's a lovely neckline.
It is gorgeous. Really, really nice. You have a little bit of plunge without showing too much. And again, it's naturally waisted, but it's fabulous. It really, really is. And again, Mango at the minute have such a great range of sizes and stuff. I'm just going to get Audrey to pull up the heels and see the ankle strap. Just that little hint of diamante across the ankle is gorgeous. And they're a mid-heel, so they're not a skyscraper stiletto that you're going to be crippled in. These are fab. And an ankle strap is great if you're kind of in between sizes and you're falling out of some shoes.
Because a lot of people are falling out of shoes when they're going to Christmas parties.
Exactly. Get an ankle strap and you tie yourself in. But look at this bag. It is amazing. Look at the size of it. So you fit so much into that. But I just think this bag is such a statement piece. It's going to be in your wardrobe for years and years. But it's just how to accessorise a very simple jumpsuit. But I just feel that is an amazing.
Is that a zippy one or a pulley-uppy one?
It's a pulley-up.
Pulley-uppy one. Excellent. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, and I love
navy
this.
is back.
Yes,
love it.
Isn't it gorgeous? And if you look closely, you'll see that there's a little leopard
print. I see that. Oh, that wasn't passing me by.
So leopard print mixed with navy in your velvet, but it's gorgeous. This is from Marks & Spencer, brand new stock, and it's fab. And again, Marks, you're just getting a really good size range, a little bit more expensive, but I think it looks amazing. Really, really does. Three-quarter length sleeve is fab, because a lot, again, are saying, oh, maybe the Christmas party isn't as glam, so something like this look would be amazing. But I just feel this is a look that I would wear a lot. A blazer, a little cami, and just a leather look trousers. But this cami, actually, is one of those things that should be in everybody's wardrobe. It's €15 from Dunnes Stores. And again, I've just teamed it with these leather look leggings from Marks. They're €32, but what a great price.
And that's unusual to get those in a navy, actually.
Yes, they're fabulous. Really fresh looking. I think they're gorgeous. And again, you can get them in 3 different leg lengths. Short, regular and long. Absolutely amazing. But I just think this look is very wearable. Very versatile. Given a little bit of sparkle here with the heels from TK Maxx, but absolutely fab. You know, but I think the leather leggings just worn with a jumper and a pair of like tan boots would be fab. But this whole look is gorgeous.
Very versatile.
Very easy to wear. And you know what? If you didn't want to wear a dress, perfect.
Now we're hitting 2 trends. What is it? Barbie core, and the velvet.
Yes, we actually did Barbie core here a few weeks back, and this blazer is one of the sellout pieces in River Island worldwide at the minute. They can't keep it on the rail, so it's fab. Obviously,
it's hurting my eyes. I'm not going to lie.
All in all, in the suit, it might be a little much, but the blazer is such a sellout. But you know what? It's structured on the shoulder.
And the back as well.
It's really structured everywhere, actually, even on the waistline. But it's fabulous. Really nice. And I could see this
single-breasted, draped over. A pair of jeans would be nice as well over a dress.
Put it over a pair of jeans, a nice little cami, and you're good to go. Trousers, looser palazzo. So again, not for everybody, but again, team together, it's fabulous. Really, really is. Again, the pleats are lovely, but again, the trousers could be worn with a little fine jumper, which would be gorgeous. But it's amazing. It's from River Island. All new stock, amazing. It really, really is. But look at the heels as well. You know, they're
anything
beautiful.
with a bow on it. That's very Cinderella. Very Cinderella.
And they're like translucent across the toe area, but they're only new stock, but they're just different. Really stylish. And I've seen these heels with just a little simple black dress. Really, really nice as well. But again, stick with the velvet. It's absolutely all over the high street at the minute, but it's great.
Are the Barbie colours going anywhere?
Not yet.
Really?
This is brand new stock.
Wow.
Yeah, and even Dunnes Stores Savita got a brand new pink suit as well, only Wednesday, Thursday of this week. And it's cerise pink.
Pink
so
to make the boys wink. We'll all be flying. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
For Plantastown Centre this morning.
Now we'll go over to Martin.
Coming up on tomorrow's show, could your winter slump be caused by seasonal affective disorder? We're going to be investigating this. Is why are we dropping off at 3 o'clock and all that kind of business? We celebrate the life of the late, great Joe Dolan in the company of his brother and niece.
and we're taking a trip to Limerick to see what the Treaty City has to offer the winter staycationer. And from Vikings to Disenchanted, we meet the man who takes care of some of the biggest animal film stars in Ireland.
And there's loads of them.
Loads of them.
And there's a lot of training that goes into it as well. Anyway, all that plus the news, sport and weather that you're waking up to. We'll be back tomorrow from 9. Enjoy your Friday. Until tomorrow.
I'd say it's a lot easier working with the animals than it is with some of the actors on those sets, I'd say. Oops.
Well, I believe the animals even have writer lists. Oh,
really?
No, no blue Smarties.
Well, we'll find out all about it tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye. See you. Bye-bye.